Welcome to the Recovery 2.0 Move Beyond Addiction Conference. I am your host, Tommy Rosen, and today I'm just delighted to be speaking with Lena Dicken. Lena is the founder and creator of Saltwater Sessions, a treatment program based off of her doctoral dissertation that combines surfing, mindfulness, and positive reappraisal for the treatment of addiction. Lena has worked at several treatment centers, including Beit Teshuvah in Culver City, the Claire Foundation, and Conscious Recovery in Santa Monica. She grew up on the East Coast and was formally trained in Jyoti meditation at the age of 13. She studied psychology at the University of Maryland and was certified as a yoga instructor in 2005 from Yandara Yoga Institute in Baja, Mexico. She obtained a degree in integrative medicine from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. She holds a master's degree in counseling psychology and is a few months from finishing her doctoral in clinical psychology at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology in Los Angeles. She's currently a psychological intern at the Saturday Center for Psychotherapy and a registered psychological assistant in private practice in Santa Monica and Malibu, California. Whoo, Lena Dicken, you've done a lot of stuff. Welcome to the Recovery 2.0 conference. Thank you for lending your spirit, your voice, your experience to this forum.
Sure. Thank you, Tommy.
Yes. Well, Lena, as I've done a little research into you and looked at your work, and it's so for me in Recovery 2.0 and the idea of holistic approaches to recovery, what you're doing is so exciting. And I want to start by asking you, how did you begin this work? How did you get onto this path?
Well, it's interesting you say the word holistic because, as I mentioned, I'm not in recovery myself, but my background, my family, they're into yoga, they're into meditation. I was raised vegetarian. The word holistic has really been a theme in my life. And when I was first looking for my practicum, my first internship during my master's degree, I really wanted to work at a site which offered a holistic view of healing. And Beit Teshuvah just happened to be that place that stood out. They said, we offer a holistic view. And that was really what got me into the field. And so that was where this program was sort of, the seed was planted. They had something called surf therapy. It was a very sort of simple group. They just loaded everyone into the van, took them to the beach. Everyone got in the water. It was so much fun. It was great. They got out, said the Serenity Prayer, and then went back. And then actually when I was interviewing for my second internship at Claire Foundation, the clinical director saw on my resume that I had participated in that group. And he said, oh my God, can you start this for us? And right around that time, my first dissertation topic had sort of tanked. It wasn't going anywhere. And I just thought, I'm going to write my dissertation on the creation of this program. And so it really went from being a small project into something much bigger.
It sounds like it. So when you got to Beit Teshuvah, that's your first experience of working directly with people who struggle with addiction.
It was.
Amazing. And you're thrown right into a program of surfing.
Yeah. And I had been a surfer. I lived in Hawaii for several years and started surfing. I really sort of made it my mission in life. I was living on the North Shore of Kauai, surfing twice a day, every single day. And that was my background. So I sort of changed gears a bit and went back to graduate school. And so it was really great to sort of marry this passion of mine for surfing with my new career.
Yes. Well, I can't honestly think of a better fit from every perspective. I mean, in the water, you're coming into direct connection with a power greater than yourself.
Yeah.
And so we speak about that obviously in the path of 12-step recovery. And so giving people a visceral experience of that, it just makes all the sense in the world.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been really fun. I mean, it's been so beneficial to the participants, and there's on so many levels. There's really a community aspect. Oftentimes, whenever the groups start, there's some little cliques. These people are friends. These people are friends, and by the end, everyone is cheering each other on. Everybody is having so much fun. Everyone is catching waves. We work with established surf schools in Southern California, and so people really get. On the surfing end, they really get good instruction. And then the mindfulness portion, the sort of lessons that I've created to go along with the program are it's a very good combination.
If you don't mind, I'd love to dig into that piece
Sure.
a little bit. So I talk and write a lot about the mindfulness piece of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, many people that I speak with in the Recovery 2.0 conferences are meditation instructors, yoga instructors,
Yeah.
people bringing mindfulness into this approach to recovery from addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your perspective on it.
It's all happening in the moment. And if you can stay in that moment and stay in a non-judgmental place with yourself, I really feel like you can conquer so much, because our minds are constantly going to the past, to the future, reliving past experiences. And if we can break that cycle, there's really, the possibilities are endless.
Thank you so much. Do you have a particular methods that you're sharing with people? The mindfulness that you're speaking about and the lessons and the way that you're sharing it, it's not just in the water.
No, we actually do 45 minutes on the sand before surfing, and then 45 minutes of processing the experience afterwards. And so there's 8 sessions, which correspond to, there's 8 days of the program over 8 weeks. And so the reason why we do it 8 weeks is that neurologically, that's how long it takes our brain to really reap the benefits of mindfulness. And so I've created 8 themes, which is part of why, part of the focus of my dissertation was to take my experiences in surfing and my experiences working in treatment centers and really saying, okay, what are the parallels here between the challenges of surfing and the challenges of getting sober? Because I would oftentimes see my clients really getting so close and then relapsing. And it was like, if they would have just had one more mindful sort of push through it and one more, going outside of their comfort zone, I really think that they would have been able to push through and get to the other side. And so that's really where the challenge of surfing comes through, is that it's such a challenging exercise. And people think, oh yeah, those guys make it look easy. I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to rip it up. Incredibly humbling experience. I remembered so well. I was 20 years old when I learned to surf. And so, I was out there on the North Shore of Kauai just getting
hammered
every day, day in and day out. And it took so much longer than I remembered or that I could have ever imagined. And I just remember feeling so defeated and so frustrated. And I know that, what a lot of recovery centers are doing is wonderful, the groups and the yoga and the meditation, and that's so important. But it's so important also, I think, to go through a challenging experience that brings up all this frustration and where you want to quit and you want to just say, F this. And that's really what's so special about surfing, is that it brings all the emotions up, and it brings up the things that people are going to encounter when they're out on the street, when they leave treatment centers. And we're giving them sort of a way to go through that and talk through it and talk about their experience and realize that they're not the only one that goes through that. They're not the only one that feels this way, that feels so frustrated. And
yes,
the exercise of surfing, you're going to fall off your board 25 times in an hour, maybe more, and then you get to talk about, what was that like? What was it like to not be paying attention and get hit and you're, hit by a wave? There's so many metaphors. They're endless.
Yes.
Surfers,
I love it. I love it. Just out of curiosity, how long are people in the water?
About an hour and 15 minutes, which is about all that beginners can handle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm thinking of my, I'm not a great swimmer myself, to be honest. I've tried to surf a few times. It hasn't gone well for me. I'm still sober though. So that's
good. Yeah.
Well, the work of seeing it through, of not quitting.
Yeah.
Is critical. And everybody who's in recovery has come to the point where they couldn't go on with their life being the way that it was any longer.
Yeah.
Even though they had no idea where to go next.
Right.
And then when you're in early recovery, you're going to come up against that wall again.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be, it's not a question of, am I ever going to think I don't want this new life of recovery?
Yeah.
Of course, that's coming. So if we know it's coming, first of all, that's good. We can prepare for that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a great saying in the 12-step universe: don't quit before the miracle happens.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like your work is like all about that.
Yeah, absolutely. These surf schools that we work with, we keep small groups. It's generally 5 to 8 people, and the surf instructors are very adamant about keeping their eyes on, okay, who stood up today, who hasn't. They're really cognizant of the fact that it's so important for people to feel what it's like to stand up and to really be in tune with nature in that way. And it is really magical. There's something so beautiful about being out in the ocean, and there's tons of research right now going on in the UK about the benefits of being not only outdoors, but the specific benefits of being in or near water. Being in or near water has actually been shown to be more beneficial to your well-being than just being outside, which there's something special to it. There's a reason why all those houses on the coast cost so much. People really love being around water, and there is, I think, a real sort of magical element.
That's incredible. I want to ask you a little bit about your one-on-one work.
Sure.
You work in a clinical setting, so patients come in.
Yeah.
You see a lot of addiction come through your door?
I do, yeah. It's not so much right now because I'm not working at a treatment center, but in private practice, people do seek me out because I've had the experiences, at treatment centers. They know I'm familiar with the population, and I enjoy the population. I really enjoy, there's a level of ego that has come down. People are really ready to seek help and take things in a way that sometimes other people aren't.
Yes. Humility goes a long way, it turns out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So can you tell me, if you don't mind, I want to dig a little bit into your philosophy around sort of addiction and the ways that you see addiction being treated out in society. What are you seeing that works? What are you seeing that actually doesn't work?
Right. Well, I don't want to piss anybody off too much.
It's important. It's important to have your, I want to give you voice here.
Yeah. When I first started at Beit Teshuva as a therapist, I was just so green and I didn't know much about the population. And, maybe I'm biased because I'm a therapist, but I just always saw that there was something going on psychological that was, whether it was a loss that wasn't dealt with or just, a lack of self-esteem that was never nurtured, or, the list goes on, but just something wasn't provided either in childhood or adolescence that someone is just really trying to fill a hole. And it starts off feeling fun and sort of looking fun, and then it goes to another place. And that's really, that's how I view it. And, I know that the teams that are working together are so important, but I really do think that therapy is such an important part of uncovering, what is that hole? What happened or didn't happen?
I've said that I feel, and one of my mentors and teachers, Gabor Mate, has said that all addiction comes from trauma of some kind. And from that perspective, it's directly in line with what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's been a hurt.
Right.
How do we address that?
That's a big question.
I understand.
It's hard to say, was it the chicken or the egg? I think that a lot of it, in my opinion, starts with parenting and learning how to be more emotionally in tune with babies and with children and with young kids. They really just need love. That is all they need. They need love and attention. And if they don't get it, they could have everything else in the world. They can have all the money to the moon and back, and they're just not going to feel complete.
And so in my own experience, looking back, the first place that I looked to get sort of away from the feeling that you're talking about and the things that were hurtful to me as a child, the first place that I looked was sugar. So I tell people that I feel like sugar was the real gateway drug for me. Like it sort of began there.
Yeah.
And it's a real visceral experience for me of getting excited to get to the kitchen
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
having like a sense of high,
Uh-huh.
and then an hour or two later feeling a real sort of sense of like dread or something's the matter,
Mm-hmm.
and not understanding as a child what that is, but now looking back saying, "Oh, I was having a sugar crash."
Oh yeah, yeah. I can relate to that. I've been definitely a chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you may be more of an addict than you.
Yeah. I think everybody's got something.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it just seems like, in my perspective, addiction is not limited by any means to drugs and alcohol.
No.
So, can you speak a little bit about a broader perspective on addiction?
Well, like I said, I do think everybody has something. I think
Mm,
there are positive addictions and there are negative addictions. I mean, I would say that what surfing became to me when I began, I think, had to do with a lot of my own undiagnosed depression.
mm,
I lost my mom as a young child, and I think that it was just never really dealt with. And it wasn't until I felt the shift of surfing, and I know that there were a lot of other elements at play. I was sitting in awe of this beauty, on the North Shore of Kauai, and just so um, just taken aback
mm.
by what was surrounding me. And, you know, I really feel like the strength that I gained through surfing, um, it just, it really changed me.
So, Lena, I want to get sort of well, I believe that addiction is not limited to drugs and alcohol.
Okay, that's where we started. Yeah.
So I want to get a broader perspective on addiction from you. And you have some ideas around positive and negative addictions.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think that there can be so many addictions. I mean, some people are addicted to the internet, some people are addicted to yoga, and I think it's all about how you channel your energy. And I do have a good friend who used to be addicted to painkillers and now really is addicted to yoga. And you know, it's not. It's really about how you channel the energy and how you let things sort of play out in your life. And I think that, like I said, I really like chocolate. Is an addiction? Probably. Like, I don't want to give it up, that's for sure. But I think, everything is about how much it's taking control of your life, or is this, affecting you? Is it affecting your relationships? There's so many different levels of addiction. And,
Yes.
you know, as you know, there are ways that it sort of negatively takes us away from the things in our life or adds to. And if it's something like yoga or surfing or meditation, I think as long as you're addressing the things in your life that need to be addressed and taking, an inventory of what you want your life to look like. And if it resembles that, you're probably on a right track. And if
Mm.
you see something that feels a little off, taking the time to look at it, like, is this wrong for me, or is this creating an imbalance in my life?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So people relapse.
Yeah.
People make progress, and then people fall off.
Right.
And this is sort of like the thing that people worry about on the path of recovery. That's it. You know,
Yeah. Right.
that's what we're worried about, is that we're going to somehow go back to this life of addiction. Which is many people are like, I'm not afraid of dying, but I'm afraid of living like an addict.
Yeah.
You know, so your perspectives on relapse, your perspectives on why somebody might fall off. Um, how can we stay on the path? How can your work and your how can surfing and the other elements that you're working with help us to stay on that path? How does that work?
Well, the real parallel process of surfing, and surfing as a metaphor for recovery and for staying sober, is the fact that this is going to be hard. This is going to be so hard. It's going to be way harder than you think it's going to be. And the reality is that you might fall off, but it's in the getting back up and keep going is really where the change takes place. And, I totally can understand the fear of relapse and the, oh my God, what if I get into the old life I was in before? That's so terrifying. Um, but really, I think every step forward that we take is, it allows us to take another step forward whenever we get in trouble, whenever something feels down. It's like every every positive thing that you do towards the goal that you want to get to, I think adds to our sort of tool belt of what we can call on whenever we get into a difficult place. So if you know you have therapeutic tools, or you have surfing as a tool, or you have meditation or yoga as a tool, you can go back to those things. And I think that a lot of, when I was talking about replacing unhealthy behaviors, it's like if you have healthy behaviors, like if you know that surfing makes you feel euphoric and it makes you feel connected to something, like you got to go do that if you're feeling on the verge of relapse, or just even go sit at the edge of the water and remind yourself all of those things. Remind yourself that there is, this sense of strength in you to keep going.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you maybe some strange questions related to some of the other behaviors that people get into when they're in early recovery. So one quick one is, I'm actually trying to combat people's negativity. So someone might be saying, well, here's a reason why I won't go surfing. I smoke cigarettes. Mm-hmm. Can you go surfing and still smoke cigarettes?
Yeah, you can. I mean, I think if you can swim, you can surf. You probably can't stay out as long as everybody else, but
Can surfing get under your skin in a way where you want to give up smoking cigarettes? Oh
yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're out there and you're having so much fun, but you're completely exhausted and you're the only one who has to go in, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Really having as much fun as they're having.
How about the caffeine? How about like really hitting the caffeine super hard, as I see a lot of people doing?
It's hard to say, because when you're in the water, your adrenaline is really kind of rushing and you're very much alert. And so, I don't really drink caffeine before I surf. But if I did, I honestly don't think I would notice it that much. Mm-hmm. I think it might hinder sort of my sense of peace or calm that I equate with just sitting out in the water waiting for waves. But I don't think it would be a hindrance.
But there must be some reason why you don't want to do it, or you don't generally do it before you surf.
I don't need it. I mean, especially here in California, getting in cold water, it's a wake up like not many other things.
Yes.
Sometimes I get out there at 6 a.m. and if there was any sense of being sleepy, it's gone immediately.
Yes. It seems like probably 95% of the task is getting to the water.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
Much more so in California. The wetsuits and the, drive up PCH, it's a challenge.
Yes.
I wrestle with that a little bit, but.
Absolutely. Well, you spent a lot of time in Costa Rica and Hawaii.
Yeah.
It spoiled you terribly.
It totally spoiled me.
Yeah.
My boyfriend actually mentioned getting me a shirt that says Surf Snob.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I get it. Well, when you've had it good, that's just a wonderful thing. But the water wakes you up, as you said.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. So with regards to yoga, how much do you bring yoga or yogic concepts into your instruction and your teaching and your counseling?
It's a good question. It's hard. It's kind of hard for me to dissimulate where I put yoga in, because it's been such a big part of my life. It's sort of part of who I am, as cheesy as that sounds.
Sounds right.
It's definitely a part of my philosophy, I would say. But it's hard to speak to specifics. To separate it out from just how you are. Yeah.
Well, that right there is testimony to a good yoga practice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I think, just the very fundamental aspect of being flexible and being able to change and able to greet the day as new and as, really the only thing that there is, really powerful in terms of the ability to change.
So many people are in a terribly weakened physical condition when they get to recovery.
Yeah.
Been toxic. Truly like toxic living for a while.
Absolutely.
Can anybody at least try it right away, or is it dangerous to be surfing when you're just coming off drugs and alcohol? Have you come upon that?
I haven't come upon anyone that was not physically able to do it. We have a few you don't want people to come in who have just, gone through detox. It's not, you need to gain your strength back. You need to have at least, I would say a week or two of, good diet and good sleep. Because otherwise I think you're just not going to be able to really integrate the principles
Yes.
as well as, otherwise.
Yes. Now, I remarked from your history that you studied meditation at a very young age.
I did, yeah.
How did you come to that? And I'm interested in hearing your experience.
Well, my parents have been a part of a meditation group since before I was born, and so I was kind of born into it. I mean, my mom was meditating when I was in the womb, and it was just a way of life. They had a guru who they still have, and
who is that?
Rajinder Singh.
Rajinder Singh.
Yeah, they're with the Science of Spirituality.
Okay.
Which is a nonprofit. It's similar to transcendental meditation in that there's a mantra given. And so at 13, I was given the mantra and instructed in formal meditation. At the time, when I was that young, meditation wasn't in vogue as it is now. And it definitely wasn't in vogue on the East Coast, in a small town where I was growing up. So a lot of my friends just have recently learned that that's where we were going, on holidays as Dad's guru and not, to visit Aunt Sally in Chicago.
Sure. Well, it's so fortunate of you. I mean, what an incredible,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like, I'm a believer.
Yeah. I feel so fortunate.
Yeah.
It was an incredible way to grow up. And the principles just of nonviolence and selfless service, it was really mirrored in my family and in the community. And, I feel very blessed to have had that.
Yes. I want to ask you just one or two more things with regards to diet.
Mm-hmm.
How important do you advise on that at all with your clients? Has that been important in your own life?
It has. It's been really important in my own life. I don't do a lot of advising unless people ask me, just because I'm not, a certified nutritionist. But I do, I'll talk to people about their diets if they're interested in improving, just how about more water? How about more greens? Less fats, less, red meat, and just playing around with it. I mean, I was raised vegetarian, but I know that doesn't work for everybody. I would never preach to somebody that they need to be vegetarian because I am. I think it's about what works for your body, what makes you feel good, what makes you feel bad, and really just tuning into that. I know, going back to my chocolate addiction, if I eat too much, I feel bad, and I don't want to do anything that makes my body feel bad. So.
Yes. Well, it's very interesting that you say that, because for me, and for many people, one stays sober because you have to. You think back and you're like, oh, wow, look what happened to my life before when I was struggling with drugs and alcohol. Like, it really, really went, right down.
Yeah.
And it's frightening.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, you stay sober essentially out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a switch that has happened for me. And it's exactly what you just said now. I mean, you're what I would refer to as a relatively normal person compared with some of the people that, certainly with me and some of the people that I deal with.
Yeah.
And I mean that lovingly in the.
I've been called
all sorts of things. Well, you spoke a beautiful truth, which is that something that guides you in your decision-making process today is, why would I want to hurt myself?
Yeah.
Why would I want to, hurt my body? So the switch that happens, which is beautiful for people in long-term recovery, is you stop. You're still aware of where you've come from, but now you're staying sober out of love, not fear,
right?
Out of love for the life that you've created. And today, like, I just want to be as healthy as I possibly can.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason I stay sober. It's not about drugs and alcohol anymore.
Right. You want to feel good. Yeah.
That's it. I want to feel good.
Because when you feel good, you can bring so much more to your life and to other people's lives, and your connections are better, and there's just more of you to show up.
Yes. Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
It's cool. Well, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your time and your your willingness. The last thing, I'd like you to give a pep talk. I want you to give a pep talk to people out there that are struggling. Maybe they're struggling in their body. Maybe they're like dealing with their weight and they're really overweight and they're struggling in that way, or they've relapsed a lot, or they just feel low in themselves.
Yeah.
I want you to give us all a pep talk. What can we how do we get through?
Okay. What I have seen that's been the most helpful for people is to find anything that makes you feel good. That isn't a substance, whether it's running, whether it's biking, whether it's hiking, whether it's push-ups, whether it's something that makes you feel connected and makes you feel good.
Physical.
And just keep doing it. Yeah, something physical, because you mentioned earlier, the body, when people come into treatment, their bodies are often weak from so much misuse and toxins. And, I really think, going back to this idea of holistic healing, it's like when your body feels strong and your body feels healthy, your brain is going to start to follow that and want to feel good and start to think good thoughts. And, I think in a lot of ways, the brain sort of follows the body. And so if you can find something that you enjoy, that gets you outside, that gets you closer to nature, keep going, just keep going. And eventually, your neural pathways will catch up to you. And, you can do it.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you so much. You're about to finish up your dissertation, are you? Or you're about to become a PhD?
I am, yeah, this summer.
What are you writing about?
I'm writing about the application of this surfing and mindfulness program for the treatment of addiction.
When do you expect to be finished?
Right now, my target date is July 10th.
I'm wishing you huge success with that.
Thank you.
I know you don't even need my well wishes. It's going to work out great.
It's all appreciated.
Okay. Thank you so much for lending your voice and your spirit to the Recovery 2.0 conference. Really grateful.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay.
To talk.
Bye-bye.
Bye.